among seven guys considered starters, and he's the guy we probably know least about here in Happy Valley. What did you see him do since he arrived last winter through preseason camp to put himself in a spot where Franklin's publicly calling him starting material for this team?
Yeah, easily he put the work in. Like, I think of one of the people who's earliest in, latest out. This summer, I think was huge for him. Obviously, got in the spring, got the playbook down pretty quickly, I would say. And then as we got into summer, like you couldn't get him out of the facility. Like I was just completely invested into the process. He immediately bought into what we have going on in the offensive line room with Coach Troutwine and the guys. And it was easy to connect with him because he's a guy that I just like aligns with the standard of what we want. So the way he put the work in, it was easy to see, why he's starting material now because he doesn't make any mistakes and he just grinds.
Rich Scarcella?
Good morning, Nick. How are you?
Doing well. How you doing, Rich?
I'm fine, thanks. Hey, I know I think you talked about this on Media Day, but I'm going to ask anyway. How has Zane Durant made you a better player? And what is it like to go against him in practice every day?
Yeah, I would say he's made me a better player because he allows me to compete against the best. I think Zane Durant is the best defensive tackle in the country. And that's because there's no flaw to his game. He's as equally as disruptive in the pass game as he is in the run game. His twitchiness, lateral speed, the way he sells stunts and twists, how he can jet up the field vertical on back blocks and inside zone and outside zone. He's just a problem all for offensive linemen. And when you get to see that consistently and play against it, and iron sharpens iron, as the good book says, and it's just when you go against the best, you get better. And it's tough in practice, obviously sometimes because you're like, man, this guy's good. But it's only got me better. And I would say this summer, in particular, the reps we got in camp together, I felt like I've gotten significantly better this camp just based off of my reps versus him and Alonzo.
John Sauber?
Hey Nick, hope you're doing well. Obviously, Katron and Nick are kind of in range to break the rushing record this year at Penn State. Have you guys talked about that as an offensive line group at all, and what would it mean to be a part of something like that?
No, we have not talked about that as an offensive line group. I think it's tough. Like I've heard this before. I was talking with my guy Landon Tango. We were talking about that prior, but honestly, that doesn't handle itself unless we handle every game. And I know it's like the cliche answer to one, but it's real. It's a 1-0. Like, both of those guys are talented guys that came back for a reason, and it's just our job to open up run lanes for them. And if we do our job every game, starting with Nevada, I think something like that will naturally occur.
Audrey Snyder?
Hey, Nick, thanks for the time. Going on the question about, excuse me, about Zane earlier. Um, what's the most impressive or most dominant thing you've seen him do, whether on the practice field in a game situation? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, think back to the orange ball. I mean, this guy picked up a guard and threw him into the quarterback. That's like stuff you tell people you're gonna do. Like that's video game, movie stuff. Like maybe you have like your uncle is like, yeah, I picked this guy up, and like that's like what that is, and he's doing that in the Orange Bowl versus a top four opponent at the time. Like that's evil to say the least. Like that's how debilitating that is as an offensive player to get picked up off your feet and thrown into a quarterback. Like that's like psychological and physical warfare.
How
And
often, I'm sorry, how often did you watch that clip? Sounds like maybe a couple times.
no, just like once or twice, like on my feet, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? That's crazy.
Thanks, Nick.
Frank Bodani?
Hey Nick, thanks
Hey,
for your time, man. Have you guys are getting a lot of love on the offensive line, especially, how good you should be in Penn State history. Do you know about any of the previous really good Penn State offensive lines? Like go back to 1994. Do you know about that group, about that team? Have you talked to any of those guys ever?
my guy Keith Goon Conlon, that's my guy.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and he does not shy away from the history of that team, and you say back that offensive line. Yes, of course, that offensive line but that offense as a whole. Yeah, you think back to the history of what that is, and we talk about it often. And he sends text messages to Coach Troutwine and puts a bunch of us in a group chat. And yeah, I mean, it's awesome to connect with that part of Penn State history because I mean, they're still active, still current. They come to all the games, and you know, again, they did what they did so we can do what we do.
Max Ralph.
Morning, Nick. I want to keep the Zane train rolling, so to speak. A guy being named first-time captain this year. You have unique perspective not only of practicing against him so closely, but you've been here for his whole career too. Why did he deserve that honor, in your opinion, and just how much has he grown as well since his freshman year?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, he's definitely grown a lot from a maturity standpoint, but that's not to say that he wasn't one of the most mature guys when he came in. He was already a mature guy when he came in. He already handled his business as he should and was an elite talent when he came in. So the growth is just more so him. Is honestly, it's crazy to see that he could even be more mature. I would say the respect that everybody has for him as to how he carries his business, his work ethic, his talent, of course, but he's not afraid to call things how he sees it. I mean, he's got a voice, a unique voice, I'll say the least, like, that when he speaks, there's no confusing as to who just said what they said. It was him. And if he sees something that misaligns with the standard or misaligns with, what we deem as, you know, what we do at Penn State, he'll call it out. And he's not afraid to have tough conversations with people. And when you have someone like that that's performing at an elite talent, elite level with that work ethic and that code for the standard, obviously, captain.
Joe Smeltzer.
Hey, Nick, thanks for the time.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. So talking about the defensive tackle group in general, obviously we all know about Zane. We got to see a lot of Alonzo last year. Behind that, there isn't really a lot of proven depth. So from an interior offensive lineman's perspective, what have you seen from the defensive tackles outside of those two throughout the fall and going back to the spring that makes you confident that they'll be ready for Big Ten play?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that makes me confident is that they're coached by Deion Barnes and Coach Jackson. I mean, that's a disrupt. He has a proven history of having disruptive guys. That's the first thing. Secondly, obviously, you have Xavier Gilliam, you have Ty Blanding, you have Randy, freshman who was very impressive, very explosive. Really was surprised to see his twitch. DeAndre Cook. Really, it's how bought in they are. Like, this group has, an elite role model in Zane Durant to learn from every single day. And I think they took advantage of that this summer and this camp and even just in general this offseason. And I would say in pass pro, it's good to go against those guys. I mean, there was not really a big drop off in camp. I would say none at all, really, going against these guys. And I mean, they're coached by the best in the nation. They're going to be the best.
Tyler Donahue.
Nick, right now there's a lot of conversation about the amount of guys who could play on the inside for this offensive line. I'd like you free to maybe dive into what Nolan Rucci did to kind of create this situation because of what he accomplished last season, what he's continued to do at right tackle. What's the transformation looked like since he showed up as a Wisconsin guy who hadn't played much college football to where he is now, where he's kind of forcing Phil Troutwine's hands, it seemed, because of his play?
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy because when he first came in, like you get to learn different things that other old offensive line coaches teach. Obviously, I've been with Coach Trout my entire career, so I don't really get too many of I guess other techniques. But he was always sturdy in the run game, which is pretty cool to see, especially as a tackle. Because when you think of tackle, you think of what they get paid for, and that's pass protection. But an elite run game guy, and quite honestly, he just got better every single game. I think people would know he played left guard when we played Illinois. He was in that left guard for a couple snaps. Like, so he's always been a versatile guy. Like, but I think obviously like played with a nub on it, like a nub on his hand versus SMU and graded out like one of the highest, I think, on PFF. And his continued elite level of play, and he's been consistent. And when you have someone who's consistently doing their job, especially as a tackle, and you have Donk obviously was doing the same thing. it's tough. You got to get guys on the field, and I'm glad I'm not Coach Trout because I wouldn't want to have to deal with that rotation, dude. That's you got guys that you have elite NFL talents both on the right side there. So it's definitely mixed some stuff up because it's allowed other guys to play in different positions. Because when you have a guy, a rock like that at right tackle, and you have Donk who can play both guard and tackle, and you have other tackles who can play swing like that too. And then you have interior guys that can play center and then move me to go. You can move all the offensive line exactly how you need to, given the situation or circumstance, and allow for other packages. You can have Norm Rucci as a right tackle and then put Donk as an extra tight end, and that's a 6 offensive line package. And if you really wanted to, you could throw someone else in there as in another guy, maybe in the backfield or something. You have 7 offensive linemen on the field, all capable of starting. It's crazy.
Rich Scarcella.
Nick, what have these last 7.5 months been like since that night in the Orange Bowl? And can you just waiting to play another game? And can you describe your anticipation to get this final ride in your college career going?
What have the last 7.5 months been like for us? I would say, and I've said this before, it is no longer and it is not the idea of proving other people wrong. It is the idea of proving ourselves right. We have put countless amount of time, put so much time into the process. And what is the process? Consistent and daily deposits of work, consistent daily deposits of intentional effort into being the best. So you add those, they compound. It's like interest. You compound every single day, the work, the intention, the study, the film, the investment into your body. And what do you have? The byproduct of all that in training camp. We've been going against each other. I said it before, iron sharpens iron. As a good man does a good man, as a good friend does a good friend. We have the most cohesive group in the country. I would take that to the bank and run with it. So I am just super, super excited to see the byproduct of all that intention, of all that effort, of all that work combining into this season.
Last two, we'll go to Audrey and then Tyler.
Well, that's a tough answer to follow, Nick. I appreciate the thoughtfulness as always. I want to go back to 94, and believe you mentioned some of the guys in the group chat, the older guys. It's been like forming that relationship with some of those guys, and what maybe has stood out or impressed you about that group, and who blows up the chat?
Well, firstly, you say it's going to be Keith Goon Conlon is blowing up the group chat with random images and random pictures and just comments that he's making. But really, it's him. Like he's the guy. But what he says obviously is that they're all still bought in, and it's crazy because offensive line in the game has changed so much. But there's still so many commonalities. You can only run inside zone, mid zone, outside zone, and gap scheme, and then those are like the big core run groups. Obviously, you have duo, and you have other things that play into the niches. But from a holistic standpoint, those are the only things you can really run. So we're running the same plays that they ran then, and it's crazy that they like still are able to like be involved in the game and follow it as much as they do and the support that they have for us. And I think in today's age, you see so many like older players that almost have a vendetta versus younger players. Like, oh, we were tougher than this. We did this different. But in the Penn State community, that couldn't be farther from the truth. It's just full buy-in support because they want to see Penn State at the highest level, which, that just creates and instills in me that when I'm done, I want the same thing. Whatever I can do to ensure greatness and ensure my support for the Penn State offensive line and Penn State in general, I'm going to do because our elders did the same for us. So it's awesome to be able to be around those guys and hear stories about how things were different, how things are the same, because there's so many commonalities between us as players and us as college student athletes and all that. There's so much the same, so much the different. And at the end of the day, we're all just guys. So it's pretty cool to see.
Thanks, Nick.
Last one, Tyler.
All right, thanks, Julia, and thanks again, Nick. We appreciate it as always. I wanted to ask you about one more of your teammates, and Cooper Cousins. I think you are one of the many people who have told us, last year if he needed to play 60 snaps a game, you guys would have trusted him to do that. I'm sure it's the case this year. He's still waiting for his first start. Looks like he might still be waiting after this Saturday too. How have you seen him deal with, having all this excitement around him, getting it done on the field in a lot of ways, on practice field, but maybe he's not quite to the point where he'll be playing 60 snaps a game. How is he kind of dealing with that based on what you've seen?
I don't know. I don't know what's gonna be like for him on Saturday. Like maybe he is. I don't know.
Sure.
And I think it's just for Coop, like you think of like a five-star Pennsylvania kid, like all the expectations that are placed on him internally, obviously, because you have like if you don't think, especially in high school, that hype gets to you, you're crazy. I remember when I was in high school, like I was a three-star, and I was probably one of the bottom five recruits in the Penn State class, and all I wanted to do was show everybody that I could play. That's all I wanted to do. And now you have someone that comes in like Coop, complete opposite situation that everyone thinks he's ready to go. It's so hard as an offensive line. Think about me. I'm 23 years old. I'm an old ass guy for college football. And you have 18-year-olds that are going against 23-year-olds. Like, from an offensive line standpoint, that's tough to be going against that. So the expectation to play immediately, I think, is ridiculous. I think it's outrageous to say the least. But he came in and he could have if we really needed to, he could have. So I think for him, it's steady Eddie being a part of the process because you don't need to start your freshman or sophomore year as an offensive lineman to get to the NFL to be a top 5 pick in the NFL. Olu Fashanu, for example. You don't have to. That's not the process is so different for everybody. And you don't want bad tape out there. Maybe it takes a little bit longer than previously externally people put pressure. Their expectations were different than what actually happened. All that matters is the end result and what you put into it. Because at the end of the day, he's gonna be the one that's gonna have to live with what happens. But he is one of the most talented guys that have been around. His work ethic is second to none. We vote him as one of the hardest workers in the offensive line room. Every single like period of camp train since he's been here, he's been voted one of the hardest workers in the offensive line room. He works hard. He's immensely talented. And whenever that opportunity may come for him, whether it's a Saturday or a start, I don't care. As long as he's on the field doing his thing, it will work. So we put so much emphasis into starts for offensive line. Like, did he start? Da-da-da. How many snaps did he play? Did he get in the game? Did he get like 20, 30 snaps? That's all that matters because you still make a play in the game. You still make a point in the game. All that matters is that he's contributing to the offensive line and whenever, because he's prepared. He prepares for when his time will come, and when it does, he's going to take